When narcissists are young, their charm, looks, or energy often distract people from their toxic behaviors. They can easily attract attention, admiration, and supply, because youth itself works like a mask. But as the years pass, that mask starts to slip. The aging process becomes a mirror they cannot escape, and shame slowly begins to creep in. For a narcissist, aging is terrifying. Most people see growing older as natural, but narcissists view it as proof that their power is slipping. Their entire identity is built on image, control, and external validation. Wrinkles, slower energy, or fading popularity feel like signs of weakness, and weakness is something they cannot tolerate. Instead of adapting gracefully, many narcissists grow more bitter with age. Their supply, the people who used to admire them, may no longer give them the same attention. Younger, fresher faces arrive, and suddenly the narcissist is no longer the star. This shift fills them with resentment and intensifies their need to cling to control. When they were younger, narcissists could get away with arrogance because their charm or beauty softened the edges. As they age, those external shields fade, and all that's left is the toxic behavior. Without the distractions, people begin to see them clearly, and that realization often makes the narcissist even more hostile and manipulative. Shame plays a major role here. Deep down, narcissists have always carried shame. They just cover it up with ego, bragging, or charm. But with age, it gets harder to hide. Failed relationships, broken friendships, and missed opportunities start piling up. Every reminder of their past mistakes becomes proof that they're not as perfect as they pretended. One of the saddest things is how narcissists struggle with regret, but refuse to admit it. They see the damage they've caused, but instead of reflecting, they double down. They rewrite history in their minds, blaming others for everything. This rewriting grows stronger with age, because admitting the truth feels unbearable to them. Relationships often become casualties. Family members, children, or partners may finally set boundaries after years of abuse. Friends drift away. The older narcissist often finds themselves isolated. Instead of recognizing their role in the loneliness, they convince themselves that everyone else betrayed them. This narrative feeds their bitterness. Shame mixes with envy as they age. They watch others enjoy healthy families, lasting friendships, or meaningful careers. Instead of celebrating those things, narcissists feel cheated. They compare themselves constantly, and every comparison fuels resentment. Their envy makes them lash out, gossip, or criticize, driving even more people away. Control becomes their obsession. A younger narcissist can manipulate with charm, but older narcissists often turn to guilt, fear, or intimidation. They may try to control adult children, criticize younger coworkers, or demand constant attention. Their tactics grow harsher, because subtle manipulation no longer works as well. Their health can become a new weapon. Some older narcissists exaggerate illnesses or use their declining health to pull people back in. They play the victim, demanding attention and care. While it's natural to need support with age, the narcissist twists it into manipulation, using their suffering as yet another way to control those around them. As their world shrinks, their shame grows louder. The things they once bragged about, beauty, success, popularity, no longer carry the same weight. They feel exposed, as though time itself has betrayed them. Instead of accepting this, they rage against it, often making those closest to them feel responsible for their unhappiness. One reason narcissists often get worse with age is because they lose flexibility. Younger narcissists may still experiment with charm or try new ways to get supply, but older narcissists are rigid. Their patterns are set. They recycle the same tactics, even when they don't work, leading to frustration and explosive anger. Another factor is legacy. Most people look back on life with a desire to leave something meaningful behind. Narcissists, however, fear that their legacy is empty. Failed marriages, distant children, and fractured reputations haunt them. Rather than admit this truth, they grow defensive and hostile, blaming everyone else for what they lack. The shame of aging often leads them to obsess over appearances. Some cling desperately to youth with excessive grooming, cosmetic procedures, or exaggerated styles, but no amount of effort, hides the insecurity underneath. Their attempts to deny time often make them look more desperate, and that desperation fuels more shame. It's common for older narcissists to become increasingly paranoid. They fear being abandoned, forgotten, or replaced. This paranoia leads them to accuse others unfairly, create drama, or test loyalty constantly. Instead of building trust in their later years, they destroy it with suspicion, leaving themselves lonelier than ever. Financial struggles also hit hard. Many narcissists overspend in their youth to project success. As they age, reality catches up. Without the same earning power or admiration, they may find themselves unstable. Instead of adjusting, they lash out, demanding help, or blaming others for their poor choices. This cycle deepens their shame. For adult children of narcissists, this aging process can be painful. Older narcissistic parents often guilt-trip their kids, demanding time, money, or attention. They frame themselves as helpless victims while dismissing the pain they caused. This creates a constant tug-of-war between responsibility and the need to protect personal boundaries. Shame can also turn inward, though they rarely admit it. At night, when they're alone, the memories and regrets weigh heavily. They may distract themselves with television, food, or superficial relationships, but deep down, they know they've pushed people away. This hidden awareness fuels bitterness and makes them even harsher outwardly. The loss of status hits narcissists especially hard. If they once held positions of power, whether at work, in the community, or within their families, the fading of that authority feels like death. Without people looking up to them, they scramble to reassert control, often in unhealthy ways that damage what little respect they have left. Friendships rarely last into old age for narcissists. Their inability to reciprocate kindness catches up with them. While others maintain lifelong bonds, narcissists end up with surface-level acquaintances at best. This lack of deep connection intensifies their loneliness, but they disguise it with bravado, pretending they don't need anyone. Romantic relationships also suffer. Partners who tolerated their behavior for decades may finally reach a breaking point. Divorce, separation, or cold marriages are common outcomes. The narcissist cannot understand why love has faded, so they blame the partner, never realizing that their own manipulative behavior eroded the relationship over time. Many narcissists also grow more entitled with age. They expect others to cater to them simply because they're older. While respect for elders is natural, the narcissist demands it like a right, without offering gratitude or kindness in return. This sense of entitlement alienates those around them even further. The shame they feel often shows up as bitterness. They complain about how unfair life is, how ungrateful their children are, or how society no longer respects them. Instead of seeing their role in their unhappiness, they externalize blame. This bitterness makes them exhausting to be around, pushing others further away. Narcissists also have difficulty accepting physical decline. Illnesses or limitations remind them of mortality, and mortality terrifies them. Instead of accepting help with grace, they may lash out at caregivers, accusing them of neglect or incompetence. Their fear of dependence transforms into hostility, creating constant conflict. One of the harshest realities is that narcissists often outlive their supply. People get tired of the abuse and leave. Spouses may pass away. Friends and admirers fade. What remains is isolation. And for a narcissist, isolation is unbearable, because it leaves them face to face with the emptiness they've spent a lifetime avoiding. As they age, narcissists often lean harder into manipulation. They exaggerate needs, guilt-trip loved ones, or use pity to regain control. They may say things like, "After all I did for you, you owe me." These statements reflect desperation more than truth, but to them, manipulation feels safer than admitting vulnerability. Their worldview grows darker too. Without supply, they see life as meaningless. They complain more, criticize constantly, and focus on everything that's wrong. This negativity not only drives people away, but also reinforces their inner misery. The cycle becomes self-fulfilling. The more bitter they are, the lonelier they become. In some cases, narcissists grow more reckless with age. Realizing they can't hold on to control forever, they may lash out in extreme ways, sabotaging relationships, starting unnecessary conflicts, or spending recklessly. These desperate acts are attempts to assert dominance one last time, but they usually accelerate their downfall. The shame they carry often leaks out as projection. They accuse others of being selfish, ungrateful, or cruel, qualities they themselves embody. Projection becomes their shield, because admitting the truth would shatter their fragile identity. Sadly, this only increases conflict and pushes away the very people they depend on. When faced with loneliness, some older narcissists attempt to hoover. They may reach out to old flames, estranged children, or former friends, pretending to have changed. But the cycle quickly repeats. Their inability to self-reflect ensures the same patterns resurface, leaving behind even more disappointment and rejection. Shame also grows when they see their own mortality, while others reflect on life with peace. Narcissists panic at the idea of no longer being in control. They may obsess over legacies, worry about being forgotten, or become preoccupied with what people will say after they're gone. This anxiety drives erratic behavior. At family gatherings, their bitterness often becomes the center of attention. They may criticize the food, complain about the noise, or make passive-aggressive comments. These moments create tension, leaving relatives dreading interactions. Instead of creating warmth in their older years, they create distance, further deepening their isolation. Narcissists may also overemphasize their sacrifices, reminding others of everything they supposedly gave up. They use this narrative to demand gratitude, even if their sacrifices were exaggerated or manipulative. This constant demand for recognition drains those around them, leaving people feeling unappreciated and resentful. As they get worse with age, narcissists often lose their ability to mask. Younger narcissists can still put on charm in public, but older ones are too tired or bitter to pretend. The mask slips more often, and their cruelty shows openly. This makes it even harder for them to maintain relationships or reputations. The cycle of shame becomes endless. They feel ashamed of aging, lash out to cover it, and then feel more shame when people withdraw. This creates a downward spiral where they grow angrier, lonelier, and more bitter with each passing year. Instead of softening with time, they harden. Narcissists also fear being irrelevant. Losing influence, youth, and power feels like death to them. They might desperately try to insert themselves into conversations, force advice on others, or dominate situations to prove they still matter. But these attempts often backfire, making them appear desperate rather than wise. For some, aging brings a harsher kind of rage. Their tantrums may become more frequent, less controlled. With fewer people willing to tolerate it, their explosions create permanent rifts. While others their age are enjoying grandchildren or retirement, the narcissist is burning bridges faster than ever. Their inability to build emotional depth catches up with them. In youth, superficial charm was enough. But in older age, relationships require depth, patience, and reciprocity. Without those qualities, they can't sustain meaningful bonds. This hollowness becomes more obvious, leaving them exposed in ways they can't tolerate. As they weaken physically, their dependency increases, but instead of showing gratitude, they resent needing others. They lash out at caregivers or accuse family of not doing enough. This bitterness poisons the support they do receive, leaving them lonelier and less cared for than they might have been otherwise. Regret also grows sharper with age. While they rarely admit it openly, narcissists often know deep down that they wasted opportunities and damaged relationships. But instead of using regret as a chance for growth, they bury it under blame. Their pride keeps them trapped, unable to break the very cycle that caused the regret. They may also cling to nostalgia, idealizing the past when they felt powerful. Stories of their glory days become exaggerated, repeated endlessly, as though reliving those moments can bring them back. But the contrast between past and present only deepens their bitterness, reminding them that time has moved on without them. Older narcissists often demand loyalty without offering respect. They expect children, partners, or friends to stand by them no matter what, even if they've caused harm. This one-sided loyalty feels unfair to others, and when people resist, the narcissist views it as betrayal, fueling even more bitterness. The lack of self-awareness means they rarely change. While aging humbles many people, it rarely humbles narcissists. Instead, it amplifies their worst traits: paranoia, entitlement, criticism, and envy. This worsening pattern creates a legacy not of wisdom but of conflict and estrangement. For those around them, dealing with an aging narcissist can feel like a constant emotional drain. It's heartbreaking to watch someone refuse growth, sabotage connections, and push others away. The shame they carry becomes contagious, spreading pain to anyone close enough to feel their bitterness. Narcissists may try to reinvent themselves late in life, pretending to be spiritual, wise, or selfless. But without genuine self-reflection, these changes don't last. People quickly see through the act, and disappointment follows. This repeated cycle deepens their shame, leaving them stuck in patterns they can't escape. As they age, the gap between who they pretend to be and who they truly are widens. Keeping up the mask becomes exhausting. They may grow careless, slipping more often, revealing the insecurity and cruelty they once kept hidden. This collapse of the mask accelerates their isolation. Mortality itself is their greatest enemy. While others find peace in acceptance, narcissists see death as the ultimate loss of control. They rage against it, resist it, and fear it more deeply than most. This fear leaks into their behavior, making their later years turbulent rather than peaceful. At their core, aging exposes the truth they've always run from, that their charm, looks, or status were never enough to build lasting love. What remains is the emptiness they tried to bury with ego, and with fewer distractions left, they're forced to sit with it, even if only for brief, terrifying moments. The tragedy of the aging narcissist is that they could have softened. They could have grown wiser, kinder, more reflective. But their refusal to face shame locks them into bitterness. They grow harsher, more controlling, and more resentful, leaving a trail of broken bonds as time runs out. In the end, narcissists often do get worse with age, because time removes the masks they once wore. Their shame deepens, their supply dwindles, and their control slips. What's left is the raw truth of who they are without distractions. And while that truth may be painful for them, for others it serves as clarity, a reminder to set boundaries, protect peace, and never confuse their bitterness with your responsibility.